Hello again. So our third lesson that we're looking at is multiplying mixed numbers. So what we've looked at so far is taking and multiplying two fractions together to take and get our solution. Now we're going to be looking at still multiplying, but now we have to deal with mixed numbers. So there's an additional step that we have to take and do in there. So we're going to take a look at that. Hopefully it won't be too bad. As always, pay attention to listen for our key word of the lesson. As always, it'll be part of your grade, so make sure to take and listen in. Alright, so like I said, we're looking at multiplying mixed numbers. So how do we find the product of mixed numbers? So a clothing factory has machines that make jackets. The machines operate for 7.5 hours each day. How many jackets can each machine make in one day? So we've got machine A, which is 2 3/4, and machine B, which is 3 1/3. So what we're going to be taking and doing, because we know how long the machines operate for, 7.5, we're going to take that 7.5 hours each day and multiply it to both machine A and machine B. Okay? So, got it wrote out on another page for us, if I can grab it. So, if we look, machine A, the problem involved with this one is 7.5 times 2 3/4. So the first thing we have to do when we're doing problems like these is we're going to change the mixed number into an improper fraction. So who remembers how to change mixed numbers into improper fractions? Excellent. I have a feeling most of you do. So what we take and do is we take our denominator, our 2, and we're going to multiply it to our whole number. So 2 times 7 is 14, and then we add 1 to it. So 14 plus 1 is 15. Excellent. So we've got 15 over. Now, the denominator will always be what the original denominator is, so it'll be over 2. Times, do the same thing for the second one. So 4 times 2 is 8. Excellent. Plus 3, 11. Perfect. And once again, oh, that's really hard to see. Give me a second. There, that's better. 11 over 4. As always, our denominator will be the same as what it was in the original problem. Now, how are we going to take and solve this? We're back to having two fractions. We're just going to multiply across the top, so multiply our numerators, and across the bottom, multiplying our denominators. So we have 15 times 11. So we get into some big numbers with these, I will warn you. So our simplifying method will be most beneficial to us, but like in the case of this one, sadly we can't simplify first. So unfortunately, we're going to have to actually take our 15 times 11. So 15 times 11 is 165. And then we multiply across the bottom. So 2 times 4 is 8. So we have my goodness, that's not showing up well. 165, there we go, over 8. Now, as we know, typically we want to have our problems as mixed numbers. Now, I will allow you to leave them as improper fractions, but as practice, do try to simplify some of the easier ones. So obviously some of these are going to get into some really large numbers. Those will be harder to take and do. But some of the smaller ones, please do reduce them because it's good practice to take and switch to and from our improper fractions and mixed numbers. So if we look at this one, if we take 8 and multiply it by 20, we get 160. So we give 20, 165 minus 160 is going to be 5 left over, so we have 20 and 5 eighths. So that is our answer for this, 20 and 5 eighths, or the 65 eighths. Oops. So that is machine A. Now, on to machine B. If we notice, we're still using the 7.5. So what does that mean in turning it into an improper fraction? It's the same thing we've already done. So rather than walk through the work, we have 15 over 2. Remember, denominator times the whole number plus the numerator, and it'll all be over the original denominator. Times, now we're taking 3 times 3, which is 9, plus 1, which gives us 10 over 3. Now, in this case, we can simplify. So this one works out to use our simplify first, multiply second. So 2 and 10 are both divisible by 2. So this becomes a 1. This becomes a 5. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So our 10 is gone. Our 2 is gone. 15 and 3 are also simplifiable. So 15 is divisible by 3. Goes in 5. 3 goes in there 5 times. And 3 divided by 3 is 1. So now we have the new problem of 5 over 1 times 5 over 1. So we're just multiplying 5 times 5, and we get 25. So our answer here is 25. Excellent. So keep this in mind as you're doing this. Multiplying 5 times 5 is a lot easier than having to multiply 15 times 10 and then 2 times 3. We would have ended up with 150 over 6, and then trying to reduce that is more complicated. We end up with a lot bigger number, so it's a lot easier being able to take and reduce this down. Now, like I said before, if reducing it down confuses you, stick to the original where you'll have the lot bigger numbers, but you'll be able to work through it a little easier if it confuses you with this simplifying. But remember, it's a number on the top and a number on the bottom. If you can divide them both by the same number to reduce them down nice and evenly, then you can take and reduce. If not, you can't simplify these. You can't reduce these. Okay? All right. On to a few more problems. Oops, this one got erased. 1 second. One here. There we go. Sorry about that. All right, so we have 2 3/4 times 8. So sometimes we're not going to have mixed numbers. We might just have a whole number that we have to worry about. Or we could just have a fraction that we have to worry about. It won't always be 2 mixed numbers per se. So we convert the first one into an improper fraction. So all of these, you're going to have a lot of practice today converting a mixed number to an improper fraction. So key word for the day is improper fraction. Make note of that. Key word for today is improper fraction. Okay? Excellent. All right, so 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. So we have 11 over 4 times. Now, we don't want to just leave it as 8. Think back to the last few lessons. Anytime we had a whole number, we put it over 1. We turn it into a fraction because any whole number is always over 1. So we have 11/4 times 8 over 1. So our 8 and our 4, our 8 and our 4 can both simplify. They're both divisible by 4. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So they're gone. So now 11 times 2 over 1 times 1 gives us 22 over 1, or just 22. So this one, it wouldn't have been too bad if you didn't simplify first. We just have 88 over 4, which is fairly easy reducible. But obviously taking and simplifying our numerator and denominator where possible made it significantly easier. We just had to take 11 times 2 in the end to get our 22. So always remember, simplifying can make your life a lot easier. But like I said, if it confuses you, you don't have to take and simplify first. You always have to simplify in the end, but you don't have to do it first. Okay? All right. Our next one, we have 4.5 times 1 1/4. So first things first, we convert it into improper fractions, aka our keyword for the day. So 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So we've got 9 over 2 times 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Excellent. Now, is this one reducible or simplifiable first and foremost? Nope. So we just multiply. So across the top, 9 times 5. Across the bottom, 2 times 4. 9 times 5 is 45. 2 times 4 is 8. Excellent. Now, we can take and reduce this, or not reduce this, sorry. We can turn this into a mixed number. So how many times can 8 go into 45? Well, it can go in there 5 times. 8 times 5 is 40. And so 45 minus 40 would be 5. So we've got 5 and 5/8. So either one of these two, and remember, always circle your answers, would be our answer. So like I said, I'm perfectly fine with either or, leaving it as an improper fraction, keyword, or as a mixed number. Okay? So this is all just an extension of what we've been doing, multiplying our fractions. It's just now we have to actually make them fractions first before we can take and multiply, because we have the mixed numbers. So we have to convert from having the mixed numbers to having the improper fractions so we can multiply like we've been doing. And like I said, we are going to get into significantly larger numbers because we're dealing with this mixed number where we have a full whole or more. We've got 2 wholes here plus the 3/4. So we're dealing with a lot larger numbers than what we were when we just had 3/4 times 1/4, things like that. So keep that in mind as you're working on these. You're going to get some big numbers. So like I said, always make sure to circle your answers so I know what you're taking and solving and what you have for an answer, okay? All right, just a couple more problems for a little more practice. All right, so we have 5 1/4 times 7 2/3. This is a fairly large one. So 4 times 5, because we take our denominator times our whole number, gives us 20. 20 plus 1 is 21. Always keep that same denominator. Then we have 7 2/3, so we take our denominator 3 times our 7. 7 times 3 is 21. 21 plus 2 is 23. And as always, it goes over the original denominator. Now, looking at these, 21 times 23, we're going to get some big numbers. But 21 and 3 are both divisible by 3, so we can simplify this down some. So divide each of them by 3. This becomes a 1. The 3 goes away. 21 divided by 3 gives us 7. So now instead we have 7 times 23 and 4 times 1. Still large numbers because we have that 23 in there, but significantly smaller. So we're going to take our 7 times 23 and we're going to get a 161 over 4 times 1, which is just 4. And then now thinking about how many times 4 can go into 161, 4 times 4 is 16, so 4 times 40 would be 160. So we've got 40. 161 minus 160 leaves us with 1 left over, so that means it's 40 and 1/4. So simplifying those answers down, or converting between improper and mixed numbers. Hopefully there aren't any questions on that. So it's all just multiplying. So just going and taking and multiplying across the top with your numerators, across the bottom with your denominators, and then taking and converting to a mixed number. Now, like I said, you don't have to convert on all of them. Some of them, like this is a fairly easy one, figuring out how many times 4 can go into 161. That's simpler. So using that, like I said, taking and simplifying first definitely makes this a lot easier. Instead of having to take the 21 times the 23, that's going to get us a very large number that trying to figure out what the mixed number would be would definitely be much harder. Okay? All right, and the last one we're going to look at today. So we have 2 and 5 6, so we're going to take the 6 times the 2, which gives us 12. 12 plus 5 is 17, so we have 17 sixths times 3 and 1/3, so we multiply our 3's together, we get 9. 9 plus 1 is 10, so we end up with 10 over 3. Now, looking at this, once again, we're going to get some big numbers, but 6 and 10 are both divisible by 2. They're even numbers. So we can cancel this out. 6 divided by 2 is 3, so the 6 goes away. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So slightly smaller, still fairly large in there, but it does help some. So now we have to take 17 times 5, which gives us 85, over 3 times 3, which gives us 9. So if we think about how many times 9 can go into 85, we should all know that 9 times 9 is 81. So we know it can go in 9 times. And 85 minus 81 leaves us with 4 left over. So it's 9 and 4/9. So like I said, what we're taking and looking at within this lesson is multiplying our mixed numbers. Excuse me. So convert those mixed numbers into improper fractions. You must do that. You can't multiply them together otherwise. You have to convert them into improper fractions first. Do that first. Improper fractions. Hence why our keyword for this lesson is improper fractions, because you must convert first and foremost. So after you convert, then it looks just like what we were doing before. We're just taking and multiplying our fractions together and then simplifying it down if we can. So keep that in mind. Like I said, keyword is improper fractions. Homework, remember, same as before. You can take and make a copy of the file I send out and write right there on it. You can print it out and send me pictures, whether it be email or to Canvas. You can write it on a sheet of notebook paper or blank paper or on a whiteboard. Send me pictures. So key thing is to make sure you send it to me. There will be a spot on Canvas for you to upload it. You can also email it to me if that makes you feel more comfortable with that. Either one is perfectly fine. And like I said before, and I'll keep reminding you, circle or highlight or box your answers. It needs to be done, because otherwise I'm not going to know where your answer is in all your work. So make things easier for both of us and circle or box or highlight your answer. Okay? All right. Hope you guys are doing well. Miss you lots. Have a great day.